Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Tech Leaders Unplugged. And today we are getting unplugged on this Friday, the 6th, with Peter Mollins, who is the CMO of SetSail. And we're going to be talking about generative AI. Why am I not surprised, right? That we're all talking about generative AI. So this is no exception. And let's see what there's in store for us this morning. So, Peter, welcome to the show. And of course, Wade, also welcome to the show as ever. Thank you for graciously co-hosting. So let's get it started and let's get unplugged today, okay? Thank you. So, Peter, welcome
Yes,
to the show.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Carlos. Great to have a chance to chat with you and Wade.
Absolutely, it's our pleasure. So, Peter, let's start with you. Let's start with Peter Mollins. Tell us a little bit about you, your background, where you come from, your experience, and then we'll move on to, of course, SetSail. But tell us a little bit about your first.
Sure, yeah. So Peter Mollins, the CMO of SetSail. We'll talk about what SetSail is in a bit, but I've been in the B2B space for basically my entire career, stretching back to my first internship with Netscape. So that kind of gives you a sense for how long ago it was. But have always been with tech companies focused on the B2B market, from doing mainframe consolidation and developer tools at Micro Focus and Borland, right through to sales and marketing technology with a company called Knowledge Tree, which was later bought by Savo and then ultimately by Seismic. And then into fintech, where I was at a company called Spreedly, where we were doing something called payment orchestration and really launching a new market called payment orchestration for helping to orchestrate various payment providers especially for international e-commerce companies. And then joined SetSail about a year ago, and just really exciting market, really exciting space and technology around it. So yeah, very happy to be here and to share some of the things I've picked up over the years.
Excellent, Peter. I appreciate it. And thanks for telling us a little bit about yourself. And now let's move on to SetSail. What is SetSail and what does it do? What is your value proposition?
Yeah, so fundamentally, SetSail, I like to think of it in terms of how our customers are able to take advantage of it. So, if you're a sales team and you're selling a complex deal, you're dealing with lots of different information, from across lots of different people in your company, and you're sending emails, you're having meetings, you're having calendars that are going out, you're doing Zoom calls, you're having all these various conversations, and especially for if you're selling into mid-market or into enterprise, it gets really complicated. I mean, you're dealing with dozens of emails across many people, lots of different meetings that are happening. You may have other people in your own company that are coming in and having those conversations with your prospects. So the challenge is that you're so overwhelmed with all of this information from those emails, from those calendars, from those transcripts and those Zoom or Gong calls or whatever, that it's virtually impossible for a salesperson to have the context to know what's happening in their deals. So what SetSail does is it captures all of that information that's happening across your emails, across your calls, across those calendars, and is able to make intelligence out of it, so that you can know instantly what's happening within every deal, so that you can take better next steps and close those deals faster.
Oh, you're on mute.
Apologize for that. As I said, that's something that I was taken care of. So Wade, I think that what Peter is mentioning, it's we both resonate with what he's saying. So I look forward to your questions and mine as well. So I'm going to have a couple. Be assured of that. So now let's move on to the topic. The topic, Peter, as chosen by you, is sales superpowers with generative AI, the hidden gold mine, practical generative AI strategies for sales teams.
Right.
So tell us why you chose this particular topic and why you felt it was relevant for today's day and age.
Yeah, so I mean, I chose AI. AI, obviously, it's been in the news for well over a year, but well over many decades. It's been a hot topic, but particularly in the last year. And so why I chose it is because there was, of course, a big burst of interest, really back in the early spring, where ChatGPT was coming out, and the OpenAI tools and others in the market were coming out. And one of the things that I found really interesting and compelling about it was there was a lot of excitement around tools like ChatGPT. But one of the things that was really interesting about how that started to develop is there was interest, yes, but where the interest started to become more real was when people were doing one of two things. They were either talking more about what are the prompts that you need to give in order to get actual information out of the AI, or defined use cases where someone can be leveraging AI more effectively to actually do some specific task. Because if you're confronted with just a text entry bar and you're meant to type in some query, it can be there's a bit of writer's block. What am I asking? What do I need to know? Like, I think about that, for instance, with our own technology, with SetSail's own technology. We're aggregating and bringing together all this information that I mentioned from emails, from call transcripts, etc., and putting it into a very accessible data store, whether that's in Salesforce or whether that's in your own data lake, like in one of the major data lakes like Snowflake or Databricks. And once it's in there, of course, you could ask any question. You could say, what deals are at risk? Or you could ask, what meetings do I have coming up with senior VPs? Or which is what's the biggest pain point across all of my top deals? Or what are the primary motions I need to do in order to advance deals? You could be asking all these various questions of that data set using our technology. But one of the things that I find really interesting is how, just like for the rest of the market, it's more real for people when you can define a use case and have functionality that's built around the AI versus it just being a completely open-ended text bar where you can ask a question. So wanted to sort of talk through some of those use cases here, and kind of go through a few of them that I've seen that have been particularly effective either for our team or for others in the market that are really that use case driven focus of AI.
Oh, on mute again. Carlos.
See, I need to get back and forth. All right. So thank you, Peter, once again. Wade, I know you have a couple questions, so I'm going to pass on the mic to you.
Yeah. So, obviously being a sales leader myself, in the whole, I guess the whole life cycle, the buyer journey and prospecting with the teams, and of course, using CRM systems and the data.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these generative AI systems and stuff, they're trained
Right.
on a whole wide variety of content. If it's OpenAI as an example, and ChatGPT, and then a lot of the companies are, passing their customer, their own corporate data into the analysis as well.
Mm.
Tell me a little bit about your perspective on having these wide varieties of data here, and then the quality of the data, or maybe the lack of quality.
Right.
Often my challenge is getting consistency in my account executives and SDRs to put data into the CRM system. And if there's not a consistent capturing of that information, and there's gaps in that, tell me about the data quality and how that affects AI.
Yeah, that's a really great question. Like, if you don't have good data quality, then AI is not magic. AI is working off of and training off of a data set, and that data set can be something that you provide or your provider provides or what have you. But yeah, if it's not operating off the right set of data, it's going to be extremely difficult to get good answers out of. Not only because it may be misunderstanding how to interpret the data and then bring it back as an answer, but also it just may be missing, having blind spots to it. So if I move over to the sales use case, you're right about a number of different things in your question. Sales data can be very difficult to get a hold of because as much as we want it to be in the CRM, it really isn't. I remember, I don't know what was your first CRM that you used, but I was using Act, and I was using Siebel, and I was using lots of different CRMs long before Salesforce existed. So the problem of getting good quality data into the CRM is not new. It's been around for forever. And now I think that problem's actually been compounded. So it's compounded because now you have not only lots of different teams, but you have lots of different tools that these teams are using. So they're using Gmail or Outlook for their email. They're using maybe Gong or Chorus or some other, Zoom for their meeting recordings. They might be using Outreach and SalesLoft. There's all of these various tools that are out there where they're generating tons of data about their that are in email and all these meetings and the like. And I'm not just saying data like I sent an email on X date to this person, but what was the content of that email? Like, was I reaching out to power? Was I reaching out to a certain role in an organization? What was the message that I was communicating? Did I at what point in the conversation did I bring up a certain fact? Who showed up to the meeting? What if I have 10 people invited, but only the most junior people show up to the meeting? There's all of this various data, but the problem is that it's being concentrated within these various tool silos. So I can go into my sales engagement tool and run a report. That's great. I can go into a meeting tool or a conversation intelligence tool, and I can get some information about the meetings that happened. But what I really need is a holistic view on everything that's happening across the deal. All those emails, all those calls, all those calendars, all of those things. I need to put that together. Otherwise, AI is just it's not going to be complete. It's just going to be answering a portion of the question. So I really want to have those data silos broken down and that data brought together so that I can actually ask the right questions. And if you'll just let me just add one more thing. You mentioned about the data quality factor. I think that's exactly right as well. Like, even the best laid plans for asking your SDRs, asking your AEs, asking your CSMs to put all this information into Salesforce, you're going to end up with inconsistency of the actual doing of it, and you're going to end up with inconsistency in terms of how they're putting the information in, the quality of the information that they're putting in, and the like. So I might be really enthusiastic and fill out tons of information and click lots of different fields and put all that information in the CRM. The next person may also fill it out, but not do it to nearly the same depth. So then AI is going to maybe start to bias on some of the responses based on where the wealth of data is and the depth of data. So it's much better to automate some of those data collection processes, because you're going to be able to break down the silos better, and you're going to be able to ensure there's more accuracy and consistency across the data that's collected.
So it is a change in the demand of the process to collect the data, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as we start to build a tool like AI that is so data dependent,
right,
it drives the importance of process.
Yeah.
And humans, like you said, this has been a challenge for every sales organization for decades, regardless of the capture tool. It's a discipline issue. It's a difference. Different salespeople come in with different backgrounds and different histories, and
right,
and then as we're capturing, using some of these AI driven summarization tools, like you said, Gong or any of those others. Those conversations are completely ad hoc, and so you're bringing in unstructured AI generated, memos and notes,
right,
then further and analyzed by AI. Then so it is just becoming a interesting world we live in as far as the data and the flow of that information.
Yeah, I mean, you're so right about like the idea of taking snapshots also, because like if you're doing like a summary on a call, that's very useful. There's no doubt about it. Like if I walk out of a hour-long call with one of my prospects and I get a call summary that said we spoke about A, B, and C, and these were the action items, that is terrific. However, if I want to go into my next forecast call, or if I'm now scheduling my next call with that same team, I have to make sure that I have complete context, that I know what's going on. And the most recent meeting is useful. Of course it's useful. But if I'm going to be able to present what's going on in my deal and plan what I should be doing next on my close strategy, I need to have context on all of those emails that are happening, all of those calls that have happened, not just yesterday, but the 20 calls that I've had over the last 6 months with that customer or prospect.
The as as a salesperson, you look at how much time you spent prospecting and hunting
Mhm.
versus the first discovery meeting through closure.
Yeah.
And, I always try to estimate that. And, sometimes it's 60 to 70% of your time is that hunting and prospecting.
Right.
And the need, I mean, our communication channels are so crowded and becoming less and less effective, whether it's phone calls, emails, social.
Hmm.
And then now we have these big pushes to do personalization and having AI help do that. Where do you see some of the tools in helping with that portion of the sales journey, in maybe analyzing social content of a prospect,
Right.
parsing that, and bringing that into a personalized note, so you can do some personalization on scale. So at least we're not spamming people with the same old message, because that obviously isn't working.
Yeah.
And I don't know if maybe it did the first 3 years of email,
Right.
but back when people read every email that came in. But so tell me a little bit about what you're seeing in this space to help with the prospecting and the hunting with AI.
Yeah, yeah. So definitely, as you said, there's some really great tools that help for personalization of emails, and also just help with better writing of emails. Like that can't be overlooked. Is something as fundamental as having something that's grammatically correct and is tone wise is strong. So you see companies like Lavender, or Copy AI, where they're really good at helping you to formulate really strong written emails that are compelling and the like. You also see that, like, there's, just to kind of take your example to the extreme. I mean, you see things like Tavis, for instance, like a personalized video where you're able to use AI to generate videos that you can share with prospects, where you're describing the problem and describing why it matters to a particular target, and yet have that personalized at scale. So you do definitely see a lot of technologies that are working to help on that prospecting, and to make that easier. There's a lot of other elements too that really come in to support that. So you have tools that are like Apollo or Clay or Zoom Info and others, where they're using AI to help identify intent, or help to identify the right persona types and ICPs that you should be reaching out to. So helping you to identify not only what you want to message to them, but who within that set you want to narrow it down to and focus on for reaching out to. So absolutely, from the prospecting perspective, just a ton of solutions that are out there that are using AI to either to take you and multiply you, or to, on the converse, is to filter out the noise and help you to focus on what matters, whether it be the right person, the right company, the right market, etc.
Yeah, I think that definitely as a company that is somewhat in a highly competitive service that some might call a commodity, that means that we have tens of thousands of potential companies that
Hmm.
use a service like ours. So isolating, not only the in-market folks where you're using the intent data,
Right.
uh, and visitors to your website that didn't leave any residue of a form fill or anything like that.
Yep.
Trying to figure out where is the best person to message.
Right.
And so, yeah,
Yeah.
I'd like to pivot a little. Oh, go ahead.
Oh,
Wade.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say, you're totally right. Like, I think that there's a new appreciation for this sort of inbound plus outbound, or all bound, I guess you could say, approach to targeting, where it's not about bulk emailing thousands of people. Although, in some cases that can work. I mean, I'm not saying that it's totally off the page, but in terms of, like, from the inbound perspective, AI is helping as well for you to become an influencer yourself, and so that could be generating ideas for you to post on. It could be tools like video editing tools to make it really simple for you to produce, podcasts or light interviews, where you can get content out that's valuable to people. And
Mhm.
so then your inbound becomes less about SEO and more about publishing, your journey, publishing your learnings, publishing information that's helpful, kind of getting back to the roots of what inbound was all about, is, being able to provide value. And I mean, I ran a podcast myself for about a year, and this was before a lot of these AI tools came out, and it was extremely difficult to get it done. I mean, it was more time for me to edit and publish the content to LinkedIn and elsewhere than it was to produce it.
Mm-hmm.
And yet now you have tools that are AI driven that can slice up a podcast or slice up a video interview into its key moments, add, TikTok friendly labels to it that can be shared easily. It just has made the process of creating so much more joyful, and it's so much easier to get that out there. So I think those are really key things for sellers themselves wanting to brand themselves, and to also to get value out there, so that people will want to come to them and will want to do business with them. So yeah, I think that there's a lot of opportunities there that go beyond just simply writing better emails and bulk sending them, but it's also on the value side and being able to provide value to your targets.
Excellent response. This is very timely I think for a lot of folks that are, just trying to understand, 2023 has been a tough year for a lot of folks, I think, in the tech sector.
Yeah.
and that are in sales. And so if it's okay, I'd like to pivot a little bit to you personally. You've been in the marketing space most of your career. What interested you at a young age to be in marketing? And tell me a little bit about, some of the folks here are trying to, look at their career and make that jump into a CXO role. And so tell me a little bit about what you think was instrumental in being able to make that jump from an SVP or VP to a chief marketing officer, to kind of guide some of the folks that are watching the show.
Yeah, that's a great question. So in terms of like getting into marketing in itself, it's funny. Like I started as a kid, my favorite thing to do was I would write stories. I would just write poems, short stories and the like, and I just loved doing that. And that's what I really enjoyed about marketing, and how I got into marketing is because, fundamentally marketing is about understanding your audience and being able to tell a compelling story that moves people to take action. And so that's storytelling at its root. And so, I think I'm doing honor to my grade 3 teacher, Mrs. Wilkosh, who encouraged me to go into storytelling. And I think that it may be a different type of storytelling. It may not be publishing a book of poetry, but it is still in that same vein. For the move from SVP to a C role, or even director or VP to another role, it's really interesting how I find that the bulk of my time is spent in a different way than it was when I was at the VP level. And it's principally about making other people as effective as possible, and as safe and valued as possible. And that's what I've attempted to do. And that comes through being very clear about what goals are, being clear about the paths to get there, being transparent about when I feel like our strategy may need to be adapted and the like, and just being able to work with the team to help solve their problems, get things out of their way, versus, sitting down and doing things. It is much more about helping others on your team to do their job better, and hiring the right people, making sure that you're bringing the right people in. So I think that's been the biggest shift for me at the C level, is focusing on how you can help to enable and equip your team to just be excellent.
Right.
Peter, we're coming up on time, but I don't want to end the conversation without asking one more question. When I first started to communicate with one of your collaborators, with Sam, he was, and I heard about the way that SetSail's the value that it provides to people in the sales and marketing space. So, I mean, for me, because I'm not an engineer by any stretch of the imagination, but I've been working like with tech companies for many
Right.
years, almost 20. So for me, it was easier to get a grasp of what SetSail was about, right? So because I've grown with the space itself over the course of almost 2 decades. However, there might be some cases in which folks with a more traditional mindset might be kind of, let's call it, reluctant due to a lack of a better word, to adopt, especially AI when it's personalization, obtaining data, things like these. So, what would you say to these folks who might be on the fence about actually adopting AI into and implementing it into their strategies, their tactics, and everything that they're doing in sales?
Yeah, I think that's a very important question. To me, I think the best way to address that is to think of it in terms of the use case. What is the value that you're getting out of it? And so putting AI aside for a second, when I think about what SetSail does and the sort of the emotion that it's helping to confront, I think of the feeling that, like, I've also headed up sales teams, and I know the feeling of walking into a sales meeting and being unprepared. Walking in, and I've got back to back to back sales meetings, and I walk into one and I can't remember where we are. Did we get that into legal? Who's my champion here? What's the main thing that they're looking to address? And when you don't have that under control, that is a terrible feeling, because you are going to slow down your deal. You're going to jeopardize your credibility, and worse. Same thing as if you're going into a forecast call. Now, we talk about moving up in organization. If I'm a director of sales and I walk into my pipeline call and I don't have complete control over what's happening within my deals, and I walk in and the CROs or the CEO is on the line, and I'm not able to say what's really going on within my deals, that's painful. And that's not a good recipe for promotion. Now, if I had at my fingertips just a distillation of all those calls, all those emails, all those calendar invites, everything that's happening within my sales deals, and then that displays mastery. It's not only great for internal, but it also helps me to keep those deals going and display confidence to my prospects. So really, I think of it in terms of like an emotional resolution, which is I'm helping to resolve that fear and the challenge of not being prepared, not being ready for that next board meeting, prospect call, customer call, pipeline meeting, etc. Because I have all the information, all the context about what's happening in my deals. So to answer your question, I'd like to put AI aside sometimes and just say, you know what, let's focus on what are the business results and what is the feeling that I'm going to get from solving that problem.
Great. Definitely great answer. So, Peter, it's been a pleasure, and it's been great to have you here on Tech Leaders Unplugged. So I really thank you for having shared your insights and your expertise with us and our viewers. But I'm going to ask you to stick around as we go off the air. I have a very quick announcement to make. We're going to be, the next guest that we have here on Tech Leaders Unplugged is, excuse me, is Stian Rocknild. He is the CEO of a company called Aquaticode, and the topic is going to be AI and machine learning in aquaculture. So as you can see, there's also other areas in which in technology that are also relevant for our own survival, which is food, right? So we're going to be having the conversation with Stian on October the 11th. That's on next Wednesday. So join us here on Tech Leaders Unplugged at 9:30 a.m. Pacific, and stay tuned for more on techleadersunplugged.com. With that being said, again, thank you so much, Peter, and thank you, Wade, as ever, and we'll see you next time.
Great. Thank you.
Bye-bye.